Hi, everybody. Mitch Jackson, along with my wonderful co-host, Jennifer Hoverstad. Welcome to TheShow.Live, the premier live streaming show on the internet, if I say so myself. Don't you agree, Jennifer?
Absolutely, hands down.
So what we're doing is we are just really going out of our way to try to bring to you the top live streaming stories, the top live streaming people, celebrities who are using live streaming to disrupt industries, to create change, and to do wonderful things around the globe. And today, what's really, really cool is we have two police officers, maybe more, joining us who are friends of ours and who are, Jennifer, these guys were rock stars down at Social Media Marketing World in San Diego. I'm telling you, everybody wanted to meet officers Mike Byers and Mark Marty. These two guys lit it up. I mean, there were lines for autographs and selfies and everything else. And so everybody, we've got Officers Mark and Officer Mike on the show today. We're going to talk about distracted driving, and we're also going to talk about how they're using social media to build bridges with their local respective communities. So this is going to be an awesome show. And guys, we're going to bring you in about 5 to 6 minutes, so just sit tight. How was your weekend, Jennifer?
It was wonderful. The weather here in North Carolina was gorgeous. Had a little family reunion out in the middle of kind of nowhere, North Carolina. But, you know, those are the most fun. Got to enjoy just some sprawling farmland and family and some good food. So what about you, Mitch? How was your weekend?
My weekend was great, just kind of hung out. And I've been waiting because I understand there was an article coming out, porchdrinking.com article written by my co-host Jennifer Hoverstad that is just going to be burning up the internet. What is porchdrinking.com and what was your article all about? I took a look, Jennifer, and I found it fascinating how you incorporated recent news into one of your passions.
Absolutely. So as many of you know, I'm a huge craft beer fan, and I will post the link right here for you. But we've had you guys around the country may have heard North Carolina has this little piece of legislation that was passed recently called HB2 that has certainly created a firestorm throughout our local economy and the state. And so porchdrinking.com, I was picked up as a writer for them last month, and they asked me to address this issue so you can see the response that our local beer industry has taken to the what I would describe as rather unpopular legislation, at least among the businesses and among the people of North Carolina. And so that is the response of the craft brewing industry here. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
The link's down there, Jennifer. I just put the link down there. Okay.
Thank you. And Mitch, speaking of writers and being written and interviewed, I believe you were interviewed by the Wall Street Journal recently.
It was fun. We had Thursday morning, Ms. Stern reached out to me on behalf of the Wall Street Journal, and we did an interview about live streaming, about Periscope, how professionals are using it. I think the start of the story transcended back to Monday and Tuesday at Social Marketing World down in San Diego. There was a press release and some other things. But I will tell you what, everybody, we talked with the Wall Street Journal, TheShow.Live. This show came up, okay? This show will be hopefully part of the article, which Jennifer tells me that this is what interests people. I mean, live streaming, digital, real-time engagement. This is what the future of business is. And I'm hoping that the Wall Street Journal includes TheShow.Live in their article. It'll be fun.
That would be awesome. But, you know, I'm sure one of the reasons they were talking to you, Mitch, and I was super excited about this, and I'm going to post the link right here, is that Jackson & Wilson, your law firm in Southern California, is now representing as agents digital influencers. Is that correct?
We are, and I'm going to have to put your name on the list, Jennifer, because we had a big press conference Tuesday afternoon in San Diego. Our first client is the one and only Brian Fanzo, one of the top influencers in the world. And what we're going to be doing is representing influencers in an agent capacity, similar to what professional agents are doing with athletes coming out of college, except the digital world is about 10 times bigger than the NFL. So this is going to be exciting. But what I'm really excited about, Jen, is that part of our message, and if you know Brian, this shouldn't surprise you, it has to do with doing social good. And so part of our message is, if you're going to be represented by my firm, if you're an influencer that wants to be a part of this exciting new development, you have to stand up and you have to help raise awareness by example of not using social media while driving. So we have a very, very key distracted driving awareness component to what we're doing. And the reception we got to this message was huge. I mean, it was very well received. And I think everybody, once they appreciate how dangerous distracted driving is, they want to get on board, they want to share the message, and they want to help. And that's one of the cool things about today's show, is that we've got police officers out on the beat that are not only, raising awareness as to distracted driving, but they're also showing the community the good that police officers do through their efforts on social media. So this is going to be pretty darn exciting.
Absolutely. And I know we'll be bringing on our cops here shortly. But Mitch, I do want to congratulate you on just raising awareness on this issue, because, I have seen more conversation about it on different social channels. And I think a lot of it stems to the fact that you're not afraid to call people out on when you see them driving and snapping or driving and periscoping. And, ultimately what you're doing, you're not trying to embarrass anybody, but you're looking after people. And I think now that this is spreading, that it's like, oh, we're actually looking after each other. No one's trying to get anybody in trouble. That kind of air of awareness has continued to spread. So congratulations to you for doing that, because that certainly you were saving people's lives by calling people out.
It's our community, Jennifer. I think our whole community, we're really working together. Nick's here of experts.com, and he's been a big influencer. Everybody over in the chat. Here's the thing, guys. I would suggest reach out privately, reach out professionally and politely, and raise awareness to someone that you see who is driving while using a mobile device, whether it's live streaming, whether it's Snapchat. That's been a big problem. Reach out privately. And if that doesn't solve the problem, I would encourage people to unfollow and not support people that are risking other people's lives. That's the best way, I think, to get our message across, is to unfollow and unsupport once we've tried everything else as human beings. And pretty soon they'll be talking to themselves. And that's when I think we'll get our message across. But why don't we roll over into today's show, if you'd like. We've got some amazing guests coming up. The lineups at TheShow.Live, everyone from Jay Bear, Gary Vaynerchuk, Jason Fried of Basecamp. The list is long. We have a special guest next week, Caleb Maddox, who most of you know. I don't want to spend too much more time on that, Jen, because I would like to open up the seat and bring our guest in. What do you think?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Should we thank our sponsors real quick first? And
exactly.
Rightside.co. I don't know if Mark Goeth is with us today, but certainly he is a friend of the show, as well as the company where he works, Rightside.co, providing the right side of the domain, not only for the show.live, but also for many other websites like .attorney.pub. Really, if you're creative and you can think of it, Rightside.co probably has a domain for you. So thank you, Rightside, for continuing to support the show.live.
And, Mark and his team killed it down in San Diego. They too were very popular because right side of the domain, .social.live. I mean, how do you beat that, right? It's obviously the name of this show, TheShow.Live. We also have two other new sponsors that I just want to give a quick shout out for and to thank them. And number one is Nimble. Nimble is a social media relationship building cloud-based platform that allows you to keep in touch with other people easily. I can put Jen's name into my Nimble account and it will instantly bring in her comments and her feeds from Facebook, from Twitter, from LinkedIn, from all the other platforms into one easy to review spot. I think John Ferrara, who's the founder of Nimble, who's a friend of ours, said, it auto-magically does all of the above.
Love it.
I'd like to give Nimble a shout out. And also, we're giving Social Media Day San Diego, Tyler Anderson of Casual Fridays, a big shout out. Social Media Day San Diego is probably the biggest event on Social Media Day, which is going to be in June. It's down in San Diego. I hope all of you attend and support Social Media Day San Diego. Connect with us down there. I'll be there. I'm going to try to get Jennifer over there. It'll be fun. And if we're there, we want to see you guys and say hi. So we've got a lot of exciting things coming up in addition to just today's show.
Absolutely. All right. And so as Mitch gets ready to introduce our cops coming into the show, please make sure you share this out both on Twitter and on Facebook. We would love to draw awareness to these cops who are on Blab and using social media for good to as many people as possible. So Mitch, as I bring in Mike and Mark, if you want to introduce them.
Well, I will. Okay. We have Mike Byers, social cop. Over on my left, bottom of the screen, and we've got Mark Marty over on the right. Hey, Mark, it's good to see you. Mike, it's good to see you. Mike's a police officer, I believe, for the Azusa Police Department here in Southern California, and Mark is a police officer out, I believe Mark is a sergeant out of, is it Montebello, Mark?
That's correct.
Okay, and these two guys, I'm telling you, these two guys, when they were down in San Diego at San Diego Marketing World, they killed it. They were the celebrities. Everybody wanted to meet these guys. I mean, to look at them, I think you already know the answer. All right. Not only are they just great guys, but they're embracing social in a way that I don't know too many other police officers around the world are using social the way these guys are. I've shared their efforts with my Rotary groups. I've shared their efforts on some of my other programs, and so have Jennifer. And what they're doing is they're connecting their police departments with their local communities and showing their human side. And they're also stepping up and helping support the Distracted Driving Awareness Month, which is April, which is this month, and to raise awareness as to the dangers of distracted driving. Mike, Mark, it's so good to see you guys on the show today. Thank you.
Hi, guys.
Hey, how you guys doing, Jen? It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. And Mark, Mike, we can't hear you.
You can hear me, right, Jen?
Yes, Mark, you're great.
Okay, good.
So as Mike looks for, let's see, or maybe has to wait. Yes, there we go. Welcome, Mike.
Are you getting feedback?
No,
you sound like $1 million.
Hey, hold on one second. Yeah, that's 2 chocolates and get a jelly, and I want ice cold milk. Yes.
And that's what I did all through the conference down in San Diego, was bring him donuts and coffee.
I believe, man, you police officers are so serious.
Well, I had to put a leash on him, Jen. You wouldn't believe it. Everywhere I went, I had to have that leash on him.
He did.
So here's what I want to know. And, I did a little bit of Googling, kind of figuring out just generally cops being on social platforms. Obviously, it's being used in a lot of cool ways in your industry. But how do you guys end up here? How do you come on Blab and create just this massive following and live streaming in general where people just flock to find you and talk to you? How does this happen?
Well, literally, we fell into it.
Okay.
So I try to keep up with all the different technologies, and Mike and I and our other partner, Arlen, and Tony, we have a podcast. And so we've been podcasting the Law Enforcement Social Media podcast. And Mike comes up one day, and I think, Mike, didn't we just finish a show? Yeah. And we had an online meeting in a pier, and he says, "Hey, there's this thing called Blab. Let's go check it out." So we clicked on record, and we went on there, and we talked for, Mike, it was like 2 hours, I think, or something, the first show. And we just went, and we fell in love with the platform, and we realized how amazing it was, because now we're able to get the word out via Blab live video. We take that video, I put it on YouTube. I take the audio, and we still continue to do our podcast. So it happened by accident, and everybody loved to hear what we had to say. And so we started another show called Talk with the Cops. And when we did Talk with the Cops, and that basically is you can ask us any questions about anything you want, and we'll be as candid as possible, as long as it's a relevant question and not a stupid question. Even sometimes the stupid questions we'll answer. And we were amazed at how much traction that took. And just kind of went off. So, we've been doing the social media thing for our agencies kind of normally like a lot of other agencies, but we're never really in this limelight, I guess. And thanks to Mike, introducing us to it. And actually, Mike started the podcast. He brought me on. He interviewed me one day, and then he realized how amazing I was. And he says, "I want you as my co-host. I have to have you." And so that's how I ended up where I am now. Right?
Okay, now on the real story. Oh, hey.
I knew there'd be two sides.
Well, and Jen, America's law enforcement, the ones that are embracing this, and I can see one of my mentors, LA Cyber Cop, Tony Moore's in here. Also, Trooper Ben is in here. We got a couple great, outstanding all-stars in law enforcement social media here in the room. And if I left somebody out, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at the names here on the slides. Anyways, America's law enforcement is embracing social media and the technology, and we think it's so important to get out to our communities, and this is how we do it, and especially with budget constraints in law enforcement. We can no longer afford to have officers that are on, slated just for that assignment. And this is really hard because I got a bunch of coworkers over here in the background, and they're all doing this and all this stuff. So,
See, I was smart. I took the day off specifically for this show.
You know what?
Wow, thank you, Mark.
No distraction.
That's impressive. But so, anyways, we can't afford to have officers that are assigned to community policing programs anymore. It's just the way it is. And so, how do we do that? And Mark and I, and along with the hundreds of other officers that are trying to do it for their agencies, this allows us, and in reality, we get out to more exposure than the community policing cops of yesteryear. It is no longer us going and talking to 40 people at a neighborhood watch meeting. It's us talking to, the potential is endless. What, 2 billion on Facebook if we really hit a home run? I mean, we have one video out there right now that we posted that nearing 1 million reach. And it's just some officers doing push-ups to raise awareness to, 22 veterans kill themselves every day in America for post-traumatic stress disorder and brain injuries. And so we're bringing awareness to that, and it's helping us get reach. And it's not that we're capitalizing on such a traumatic thing, but we're doing our part to bring awareness to a very important issue. And we're the cops, and if we can do that, that's great. And Mitch, like you said, when we went down, we had an advantage. You have an advantage, and we had an advantage down at Social Media Marketing World that we really didn't have to work for. And that is, we're the cops on Blab. We're the only ones that are doing it.
Right.
You're the only streaming lawyer that's doing it. So we're not just another marketing person. And that's not to say anything negative towards anybody, but we have that advantage. So we're going to capitalize on that and use that to our advantage. And the good thing is, Mark and I, we're not making a dime off this. So when we say use it to our advantage, we're saying using it to the advantage of helping the whole entire world out. That's what we feel. We're just passionate about it.
I really liked when you threw Mark up on your shoulders, Mike, and walked through the conference of 3,000 people with your arms up and down, yelling for donuts and coffee. I mean, you might want to be a little bit more subtle at the next Now, I'm joking, everybody. That did not happen. But let's talk a little bit about the global influence of police officers using social. Now, the two of you were the first to, you and Arlen also, who we should give a shout out to, were the first officers who I met online, on Blab, on social. But tell us a little bit about how police officers around the world, based upon what you've observed, how they're using social, what they're doing right, and what the two of you plan on doing with respect to just the police officer aspect of live streaming over the next 12 months. And then we'll roll over to distracted driving and some other things.
Mark?
Okay, so when Facebook Live went live, so I started with Periscope, little bit of Periscoping, and to be honest, Mike and I both don't see a lot of traction. Maybe we're not using it enough, but we don't see it for our audience. I did it because I'm like you said, Mitch, I'm a sergeant, but I'm in the training and recruitment division of our agency. So I tried to use it to give some tips and tricks, and it wasn't really working for us. When Facebook Live came about, I started to use it on a personal level first, and little known secret, as I love to cook, and so I started filming to my friends and family about cooking, and it took off. And so then I said, "Hey, there goes Mike. He's got to do his Snapchat while we're talking, or he's just showing us Azusa PD patch, one of the two." But so we have a Citizens on Patrol. I'm sorry, a Citizens Academy. And this is, I believe, the second or third one we've actually done in the last 2 or 3 years. So as although I do recruitment and hiring, I'm also responsible for all the social media for our department. And so I wanted to find a way to get the information out to our community. And I was tweeting, and I was putting Facebook pictures up, and people were commenting. And I said, hey, the first day Facebook Live went live, I told Mike, I said, Mike, I'm going live on this. So I'm very fortunate that my chief, Kevin McClure, who does not know anything about social media, is sometimes to an advantage, but he has all the trust in the world in me. So I walk in one day, and I got this case full of stuff, and I got my iPad and everything else. He's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm gonna go live stream on Facebook. And he says, I don't know what that means, but okay, have fun. So my first experience using it with our community is I live streamed kind of like a little commercial for our Citizens Academy. And I stayed on for about 5. I think we know, for those of us that have used it on any live stream, you got to give it about 5-10 minutes for people to come on. And so I got my message out and I told everybody what we were doing. And then I had people come in and comment, and I responded to some of the comments. Well, I was amazed at how impactful that was, because the lieutenant who was in charge of it, she says, hey, I don't know what you did, but we have like 2 Citizens Academies filled up for the next 2 classes. We have too many people that want to get in now. And I said, wow. And I can't believe how powerful that was. And so that's what we're doing. And so I'm actually going to film, and you asked Mitch what we're going to be doing with it in the future. I'm going to film or record live one of our traffic guys, and we're going to talk about distracted driving, because obviously that's the topic of, this is the month. For those of us in California, Office of Traffic Safety, which is in California, they're the ones that give us money basically through grants to do the different initiatives through our traffic bureau, and distracted driving is one of them. But we also do our DUI checkpoints and anything else related to stuff like this. And I find, and Mike and I have talked about this, so at my police department, Mono Police Department, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Snapchat now too, and we're on Instagram. And I find that I have different people that follow us on each platform, but our biggest reach is in fact Facebook. And so when we do Facebook Lives, we get a lot more people coming on, and they really enjoy it, because like Mike said, we don't, unfortunately, like most agencies in LA County, actually probably throughout the United States, we don't have a lot of money anymore. We don't have a big community policing organization where we used to have a bunch of civilians on board hosting neighborhood watch meetings. We still do the neighborhood watch meetings, but they're very, very low scaled, and they're usually by our patrol officers just because of manpower. And so when I realized the impact that we could make and the reach that we could get digitally, I was like, hey, I'm in. I mean, I've always been that geek. Mike and I, we forgot our propeller hats to wear to social media world. We'll probably bring them next year, or we'll bring them in June, Mitch, for Social Media Day. But I mean, that's kind of what we're doing. And like Mike says, Mike, you put up a simple video like, hey, we're supporting this, and here's our cops doing this, and people love it. They love to see our cops. And that's kind of how why we've embraced live streaming, even outside of our agencies, kind of what we're doing now. And then we realize how important it is in our agencies. So that's, so each month I'll find a specific topic, and we're going to stream live. I'll interview someone who may be the expert in that area. I don't like to be like Mike, and I don't want to be in front of the camera all the time like he is. I want to give the limelight to other people. So, I like to share the wealth.
Is that right? That right.
I love it.
You know what though? He's absolutely right, and every department's different. And I see Trooper Ben has asked, if we had one channel to focus on, what would it be? Look, here's the thing: we've all done this. Mark and I, we go out there and go against some of the best advice that we get in the world, and that is we shotgun effect. We go out on all social media platforms, and we see. We try to be there for everybody. We try to get our message across whichever platform you're on. And the reality is that the police officers that are doing social media for their agencies, the majority of them are doing it as a collateral duty. So like right now, you see me hearing, I'm reaching down, I'm listening to the radio, because that's my primary focus, is the law enforcement aspect of the job. And so because of that, it's really difficult to have multiple platforms to monitor. And so we kind of go against the grain about social media about, hey, you have to respond within this time frame. And we do our best, but now I've added an automated message onto like our Facebook message that basically says, hey, we got your message. And we try to answer them. If this is an emergency, please call this number, and please don't try to report a crime here on Facebook. You'd be amazed at how many people don't even read that message and they still try to report something. But we're doing the best we can. And the reality is, so our social media, the expectations of the public are social media like they go anywhere with any company. But the reality is you're not going to get that same level of service. And that's not to say we don't want to provide that. We absolutely want to provide that. But we have to take in account our primary mission. So to get to Trooper Ben, if I had one platform and, everybody loves to go and try to dog them out, but hey, the big gorilla, Facebook, look, that's where it's at. That's where people are. And especially with the impact of Facebook Live now, and when you go live and how they're given preferential treatment, we pop up a little bit higher in that feed. That's awesome. And Facebook Live really does work for us. So I would say our primary thing for me, my go-to is going to be Facebook. Only though because they've incorporated that live feature. So I love the Facebook and the live. I'm loving Snapchat, and I'm going to be doing it more for our police department. And Mitch, you heard that at the conference, and that's what everybody said. If you're a business today and you're not Snapchatting, you're already behind the curve. And I know it's difficult for people to grasp this thing of 24-hour only messages, but you need to craft it and go for it. And if you're a law enforcement agency, now traditionally in police work, and all my partners will agree with this, we are usually 20 years behind the curve. And so, but all the social media cops are throwing a spin on that. No, we need to be ahead of the game. So I'm hitting Snapchat pretty hard. And my next up, Twitter's cool and it really works for the media and people that want to know the latest news. But I think where it's at even more bang for the buck is Instagram. People love looking at photos, and now that they've expanded that video feature to 60 seconds, do you know how much of a community policing message I can get out in 60 seconds? And we're going to do that today. We're going to do some messages about home burglaries and auto theft, just tips. Things and people want to see those things. And look, we're all guilty of this. We don't have a lot of time, and you better tell me what you got to tell me, especially you cops, within the first 3 seconds, because my attention span is only about 7, even though a fish has an attention span of 8 seconds. So you better tell me what I need to know. There you have it.
I love it.
Facebook Live, that's where it's at, and Snapchat.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. But here's the interesting thing, Mitch. I mean, Mike and I, we don't always agree, but when we do, we agree pretty tightly. But I also want to mention that Mike never would have been on Snapchat if it wasn't for me. Right, Mike? Come on. You know how hard it was for me to push him to get on that? He goes, what is this? I don't know what this is. Anyways, I just had to throw that out there. But
you guys cracked me up.
Where it's at. Yeah, Facebook Live.
But Mark, here's what's happening right now is people that had maybe the false idea about what police officers are all about. If they're watching our show right now, you guys are connecting. You guys are being real right now, just giving each other a hard time. I mean, it's so powerful. And what you guys are both doing on Snapchat, just because you brought up Snapchat, is you guys are showing your personal side. You're snapping from the house. You're both doing very entertaining snaps. I always try to watch your snaps.
Well, Marks aren't funny. By the way, Mark, you forgot something. You forgot something. There's something.
What?
Wow. I'll tell you. I see Jennifer. I'm sorry I got into this, Jennifer.
No, this is great. I kind of feel like this is a trailer for your Blab show. Like people are going to now, people who haven't been to the show before are going to want to come watch you guys.
Oh yeah. And that's
Mark and I, we're a little curious about this thing about sports drinking.
Yeah.
I'm all over it, Mikey.
Well, only because you weren't invited.
Craft beer. That's where I'm at. I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's Jennifer's forte.
Just to kind of piggyback off the whole Facebook and Facebook Live. Yeah, I agree with Mike. That's where we're at. That's where we're going to be now. But we all know social media. We need to stay on top of it because tomorrow, if you ask us this, it may be a different answer. We just never know where it's at. And see, I think one of the biggest things people need to understand is, like Mike said, you need to kind of listen to mainstream, hear what they're talking about, but you need to figure out what works for you. And so for our agencies, this is what works. And so we're gonna be pushing Facebook Live hard and doing a bunch of stuff on there. And then, like I said, come June, we're at Social Media Day. Who knows? They may tell us that, that something else is different, and we may jump on that. And Mike and I, we try to stay up on it. I try to stay up on what the new technologies are, and he'll tell me, hey, check this out or check that out, and I do the same thing. And then we look at it from a civilian standpoint, and then we say, hey, how could we take this and use it for our community in a law enforcement standpoint? And some people don't think about it. They really think sometimes that it's, well, but you guys are the cops and it's different for the community. Well, no, it isn't. We're really using it the same way you guys are. Like our business, what we're selling tips, right? We're selling important information for our community. Don't do this, do this. Keep your house safe, keep your credit safe, different things like that. Don't stream and drive, don't drink and drive. So we're selling that information. We're no different than anyone else. We're just selling a different kind of product.
And you know what? Trooper Ben, KHP over here on the side. And by the way, I see some questions up here, but this is your guys' lab, so I'm not going to – I'll let you regulate the questions. I'm so used to running our own lab, but whoever's asking questions, I don't want you thinking I'm ignoring you. But Trooper Ben, KHP, he's killing it, and I think he uses
Twitter, yes.
Twitter and Periscope. And if that's right, Trooper Ben, if you can let me know. I think you're the man. Yeah, you're the man when it comes to Periscope. So that works for him. Works really well.
Yeah.
We just don't get, I don't know. We don't just get good mileage out of it. And I know, Sergeant TCS Neil.
Yeah, Neil.
Our guy over in England that's been really hitting it hard on the distracted driving.
Yes.
He's knocking it out of the park also with Periscope. And so.
Well, let's talk about distracted driving, if you don't mind. I mean, I know Jen had a couple of questions she wanted to ask about distracted driving and what you guys are doing. So, Jen, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to hear. I know, Mike, we got kind of a small preview from you in our show 2 weeks ago just about the end distracted driving efforts, but really curious to see for y'all. I mean, we saw Snapchat pick up in distracted driving filter here not too long ago. So we are seeing that the social community come around this issue, although we're not seeing everyone listen to it. We're still seeing this movement. So what have you guys seen, especially in your place as police officers and as people protecting communities? How have you seen this movement shift, hopefully in a more positive direction, or have you seen any movement at all with it?
You want to go first, Mikey?
Okay. So, we had a show, Mark and I were on our last show, we were talking about it, and I got on my soapbox and went off on my tangent. And so you'll have to excuse me, but yeah, I'm really passionate about it. And I think, Mark and I, we make fun of people. If we pull up next to you in this car, and, I know this might sound crazy, but it's a big black and white car, has the letters POLICE and red and blue lights. And if we're looking over you and we're giving you the patented law enforcement hairy eyeball look like this, and you're texting and you don't even notice us next to you, we're going to give you a citation. Right. Because that scares me. First of all, if you can't even notice what's going on around your vehicle, and let's say you are stopped. Okay, so Mr. Carjacker that's coming up outside of the liquor store that just robbed it with a handgun, and you're not even paying attention to your surroundings. Come on. This is you're going to get the citation because you need to be admonished on that. You're operating a motor vehicle, and let me tell you something. A motor vehicle can kill somebody quicker and faster than a gun. And the reason why I say that is because we all have motor vehicles. Not all of us have guns. And I'll tell you, Mark and I and every single police officer, especially Trooper Ben, who's out there on the roadways, that's his primary function, is traffic enforcement, accident investigation, as well as, any crimes. But Trooper Ben can tell you, we're sick and tired after 24 years in this career, rolling up on accident scenes with mangled bodies, biological hazards everywhere. It is horrible. And especially, I've got kids, and I remember this. I remember this one thing is, and I'm not going to give into the details, but I had a very bad accident, and it involved a child. And I went home, and my son was a newborn, and I stood over that crib and I cried. I cried because I was doing something that the father of what I dealt with could no longer do. Mm-hmm. He could no longer stand over the crib of his son, pat his head, tell him he loved him, give him a kiss, and then go to bed. I was allowed to do that night, but I knew there was a father that couldn't. We're sick of this. And these are scars, just so you know. This is what police officers, firefighters, EMTs, doctors, lawyers that handle these cases, we go home and we don't have anywhere to talk about this. We have to burn those scars onto our soul. And yeah, no wonder why so many officers, unfortunately, turn to drinking and, you know, the demons that they have to deal with. And that's a whole nother episode. But we're sick of it. We're tired of it. So yes, you're going to get a citation, because if we have to take and write that citation, great. I love the fact that you call me a name. Okay. Great. I love the fact that you tell me I'm number one only with the other finger. Great. But if that means that you stop doing what you had to do, or we're doing, or maybe you think about it next time, I won. The law won. The community won. The person driving down the street whose car you're not going to slam into won.
Well said, Mike. Well said.
Off my soapbox. Mark, go ahead. So
I just want to give you guys a couple of statistics.
Love it.
And so the statistics I'm going to give you are from a website called distraction.gov, in case anybody wants to go check it out. So in 2014, 3,179 people were killed, and 431,000 were injured in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. And one thing that I think everyone needs to understand is we talk about streaming and driving and texting and driving. When we talk about distracted driving, we have three types of distracted driving. There's the visual, which is taking your eyes off the road. There's manual, which is taking your hands off the steering wheel. And then there's the cognitive, taking your mind off of the road. And that happens anytime we text, we snap. Believe it or not, even when you talk on your phone, your attention isn't completely on the road, because you're listening to who you're conversing with. And here's another quick statistic. As of December 2014, 169.3 billion text messages were sent in the U.S., including the other territories of the U.S. That's every month, 169.3 billion text messages. And you don't think people are doing that when they're driving? We know that they are.
It's crazy.
And so I have a personal. I had a friend of mine whose brother was killed due to distracted driving. A driver, and it even happened in our city, and it was very unfortunate. And a guy was driving down the road, and he was watching a YouTube video, hands-free, believe it or not, in a cradle, still watching it. A friend of mine's brother walked out in the middle of the street, and he was killed. And the guy was watching a YouTube video. He wasn't drinking.
Yeah.
All he was doing was watching a YouTube video. And you can see how something that simple could impact your life. That guy's in prison now because of that. And we have choice. We have a choice when we get behind the steering wheel of a vehicle. It's up to you what you want to do when you're behind it. Whether you're going to text or you're going to reach down and grab something. And one of the other things people don't realize is, when you reach down to grab something, you're taking your head off the road. If you really need to pick something up off the floorboard, pull over, stop. If you really need to text, pull over, stop. You know, we all have automated messages nowadays. You can customize them on your iPhones that said, I'm busy, or, you know, I'm driving, text you later. Even some vehicles will have that feature. Well, it automatically texts for you. And so we really need to get out there and do this. And you don't have to be a police officer. You don't have to be a lawyer. Right. You just need to be a person who's concerned with safety. Because like Mike said, one day it may be a family member or someone you know. And you really need to be cognizant of what's going on out there. And you have to be aware.
Mark, talking about this topic does change people's frame of mind or mindset on this issue. We talked to some people down in San Diego who were snapping and driving. And today, they're now on the bandwagon to stop snapping and driving. I mean, it just takes a little conversation to really share the facts. When you share the fact that the average time taken away from paying attention to driving while you're live streaming is about 5 seconds, and at 55 miles an hour over the course of 5 seconds, you travel the length of a football field. That's like traveling the length of a football field blindfolded. And it's just not okay to do. And I think by raising awareness, there's another issue. The other issue is when you do use dash mounts with your phones, recent studies have shown that even hands-free operation of a motor vehicle while using your mobile device, it can actually take your attention away from the process of driving for anywhere from 20 to 28 seconds. And earlier today, what I decided to do is just to try to walk my talk is I took my device off the dash and I put it into the compartment between the driver's seat and the passenger seat along with my phone. And I just did a Snapchat story at CA_lawyer on this topic. When I'm in the car, I'm not going to use my phone. I'm not, it's not what you guys do, because you guys have electronics in your car, and I get that, but I can wait. It can wait until I pull over and get out to go to the office or grab a cup of coffee at Starbucks. That's when I'm going to start checking my phone. So today, I don't even use hands-free behind the wheel, because the reality is it's distracted driving. And I think what you guys are doing with sharing this message and with helping, let's just say, enforce the validity of how important this is based upon the stories you shared. I mean, we would all hate to have somebody in our family be a victim of distracted driving. I too, Mark, within the last 3.5 years, 2 defendants who I've sued on wrongful death cases are now in jail because of, criminal vehicular homicide here in California, because they were distracted driving. Yes. Not to mention the $1 million civil verdicts against them. So it's a real problem that I think we can all, that's why once it hits you or your family or your occupation, that's when it gets real. And that's why I tell people, reach out to distracted drivers, people that are using devices while driving, talk to them, be polite. And then if they ignore you, as some people are doing, unfollow them and stop supporting them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And Mitch, to touch, I'm sorry, Mike.
I was just going to say, and thanks to all the nice comments and the people that are leaving some great comments there on the side. Appreciate it. Here's something that we need to think about also as influencers and thought leaders in the industry, as well as any parent that's watching this. It's up to us to also model good behavior for our children, as well as, and a lot of people sometimes when I go and give presentations and I tell them it's okay to put a cell phone in a young child's hands, and they look at me like I'm hitting the pipe or whatever, but look, here's the reason why. We have people that go out and teach their children how to use a firearm and then lock it up. And we also go and teach our children when they turn 16 or 15, depending on what state you live in, how to operate a motor vehicle. Well, the reality is these devices are weapons too if they're not properly utilized, whether we're talking about bullying, criminal threats, sexting, and distracted driving, distracted walking, distracted boating, whatever you want to call it. So, look, my 5-year-old and 7-year-old they have no problem manipulating their iPads. Okay, so it's up to us as parents to properly teach them when's the right time to use it, when's not the right time to use it. And like I said, I know this is distracted driving, but I tell parents all the time, hey, look, kids are not to use the mobile devices at the dinner table, and sometimes you have to explain that's that square item with 4 legs. You all sit around it and talk at night, traditionally. Yeah. And then they don't use it in the bathrooms or their bedrooms, because nothing good comes out of a teenager or a child in the bathroom bedroom with a mobile device. Period. End of discussion. And so the same thing, put those devices in their hands when they're young and start modeling the right behavior. And if that means that when you're operating a motor vehicle and you're not, and that device is down, look, if the device is down and you're not using it, the child will learn, right? Hey, they'll assimilate not using the device while operating a motor vehicle. My son, 5 years, I get so lackadaisical, and I do the same thing where I start going like this, and then I start driving like Mitch. I throw the Detroit lean in there, okay? And
don't forget this though.
Yeah.
So and he'll say, "Daddy, 2 hands." Right, son. Now put both hands on the wheel. I need my son also to start saying, if he sees me putting that device or doing whatever, "Daddy, put the device down." And now I'll admit, Mitch, I can't go as far as you with the right. Devices. We have so much equipment in our patrol cars, from laptops, and I want to, one of these days, I'm going to just video inside so you guys can see all the stuff that we've got going on inside of those patrol cars, and they keep on throwing more and more technology in there. And so it's important to pay attention to what your primary focus is, and that's driving on the roadway. Now, we're listening to the radio, we're listening to calls, we're looking for people doing things illegal around us, and that's just the nature of our job, and we're exempt in a lot of ways under different laws because we have to do that, and that's what the community needs us to do. Now, I do want to address, like I said, I'm not going to address all your questions on the side here, but I did see somebody say, hey, we need to put jamming devices or things like that inside of the vehicles to stop this. And, as police officers, Mark and I would, we need to. We also need to have a way to shut down a vehicle during a pursuit. But here's the reality. America's not going to tolerate that. Okay? They're not going to tolerate Big Brother having that control over a vehicle. I don't even know if I would want that. Could I be driving down the road and a police officer immediately shut off my car? I don't know. But I can tell you, I do say that if a vehicle is being pursued by the police, yes, the police should be able to shut that car down now. Okay? And that's just, again, I'm on my soapbox.
Yeah, but Mike, along those same lines, if there's a device that allows you to pick up if somebody's under the influence of alcohol or drugs, I have no problem with that car shutting down. I don't want to ask their permission to do it. You can't fix stupid. If somebody's texting and driving or using social media and driving and risking lives, I have no problem with a device shutting the car down. We'll see where it goes in 5 to 10 years. You're a much kinder human being than I am, Mike. But once again, that's what's so cool about social media is you're showing that to your community and your audience. And you and Mark, I mean, you're the kind of guys that we'd all want to sit down and have lunch with. And that's the power of social. That's the power of police officers embracing the digital platforms to show that you really do care about your community. And that's a powerful thing. One real quick thing, and I want to hand the microphone over to Jen. I'm posting later on today. I'm waiting to hear back from a client, but it's a case where there was a bicyclist using his Fitband, and he looked down while he was adjusting his Fitband, wow. and he hit my client and broke multiple bones in my client's. It was a very, very serious high-speed impact. We got the case done last week. I didn't really think about it as a distracted driving case until this weekend, and I was thinking, wait a minute, he was a distracted bike rider not paying attention to where he was going. So I'll be posting that later today as long as the client says it's okay, and I'm working on that. But Jen, what do you think?
Mitch, I'm sorry.
Mark, jump in.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Absolutely.
Just along on the bicycle thing. Here's the problem with people sometimes. They don't realize that a bicycle has to obey the same laws as a vehicle does. Okay. So we see them riding on the sidewalk, riding in crosswalks, and I've seen lots of accidents where people will hit bicyclists in the crosswalk. And believe it or not, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it's the bicyclist's fault.
Right,
so,
right.
And one more thing I want to touch on. Someone mentioned about distracted walking. I don't know if you guys have heard of it now, but there's a term for those people that are walking with their heads in their phone. They're called the walking dead. And those people are the ones that are getting in accidents as well because they're not paying attention. They're the ones getting robbed. They have their earbuds in. They're not paying attention to their surroundings. So we have a bigger problem than just distracted driving. It's anything distracted with phones. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Well, look at this picture, and I'm going to show you this. There are no names. This is a pedestrian's elbow. This is my client's elbow after being hit by a bike at high speed. And wow. You can see the device holding the elbow together. I mean, there are real consequences to people that are doing stupid things, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is real life, you guys. And that's one of maybe 4 or 5 photographs of different body parts. So everyone needs to be careful when they're operating any type of vehicle.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This is heavy-duty stuff, you know?
Well, it is, but here's the idea is that we are all right now, this conversation hopefully is inspiring people to consider their own personal practices. I know after our blab 2 weeks ago, Mike, with both you as well as the other people that we talked to during the blab to end distracted driving, I thought to myself, the same idea with influencing my daughter, where she's only 18 months old, but I would sit at a stoplight and Snapchat or something. My car wasn't in motion. I was sitting there. And then after that blab, I thought to myself, like, oh my gosh, she doesn't know the difference between the car being stopped and me doing this or the car going and doing this. So I just have to stop it altogether. So I think that this conversation, the more we do it, the more we reflect on our own practices, we will hopefully encourage and influence each other, our peers, as well as our kids. But on that same idea, I know as we're winding down the hour, is the same idea of influencing each other. I read an article on entrepreneur.com that said that there was a 2013 social media survey from the International Association of Chiefs of Police that said 96% of police departments do use social media in some capacity. About 80% said it helped to solve crimes, and 73% said it helped to improve community relationships. So clearly, there's a lot of police officers, a lot of departments at least experimenting in the social sphere, wherever that might be. So my question, Mike and Mark, would be, are you guys looking at other officers, at other departments to kind of get ideas for things that you have seen as far as successful social campaigns or interactions?
So it's interesting you brought up the IACP study, and that is that, that study talks about, so if you really start looking into, breaking up those numbers, unfortunately, I'm not seeing as many agencies using it for community policing, for reaching out to their communities, and really modeling their department, their branding, their marketing for the department. Now, they say, yeah, we're using social media, but a lot, if you look, like I said, break down that number, you'll see that they're using social media to conduct investigations. And, all crimes, I have found, all crimes are related to social media. Every single crime is related to social media because somebody's either talking about it on social media, somebody was part of it, somebody's reporting it. Somehow, social media is involved in 100% of the crimes. And, so I'm not trying to throw my profession under the bus. But look, guys, men and women of law enforcement, you can fight this all you want, and all you're doing is you're doing a detriment to your agency's brand, reputation, and your communities. Your communities are dying for this information. They want the information. They want to help law enforcement out. Let's think about this. Now, this might shock everybody, and this is my sarcasm coming out, but if we have somebody that we're looking for in our community, and we have 8 cops on duty, and we have a population of 50,000 people, what's my success rate going to be? 8 cops looking for them? Or putting it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Right.
1,000 people looking for them. I don't know. I'm not, there's a reason why I'm a cop, because I'm not good at math, but I'm telling you, there's a big power play here. And who cares if we give up a little information? We give up a little information, the phone starts ringing, and now we start going. And Mark had this with a big case in his city.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the first week we went live on social media, I was actually the acting detective sergeant at the time. And unfortunately, there was a fatal traffic collision involving a motorcyclist and a vehicle in one of the main arteries in our city. And I get down there not because I'm the social media guy, but because I'm the detective sergeant. And the traffic sergeant hadn't got there yet. So I was down there just to make sure everything was going all right. And so I start tweeting. And then we also use a platform called Nixle, if you're familiar with it. And basically, it's an emergency notification system, and it allows us kind of to send text messages, emails, and you can send it, via tweet or Twitter and Facebook. So all I was doing was really going out there, and I wasn't trying to solve a crime at the time. I was just wanting to go out there and say, hey, people, there's a really bad accident. Do not come down here, and that was it. Well, then the media shows up, and if for those of you, and Mitch, I don't know how it is with you, but Mike and I, before getting in social, the media, they're our enemies. We don't want to talk to them. And that's kind of what's ingrained into us as cops. But I got to tell you, I've developed an amazing relationship with them now. And for example, when we put information out, we used to put out press releases. We don't have press releases anymore. We have news releases because we're the number one source putting information out for our agency. So anyways, to shorten up what I had to say, we had this collision. We had some information. And we put it out on Facebook, Twitter, and let it go. And within 3 days, the guy calls in and says, hey, I'm over here at Walk and Don't Walk. Can you guys come pick me up? Yeah, I was the driver of the car. So the guys are like, what? So our detectives run down there. They snatch him up real quick. And he was there. They said, hey, just out of curiosity, why did you turn yourself in? Quote, unquote, he says, I felt the heat from social media. And when I heard that, I was jumping up and down. And granted, like I said, it was a tragic incident, but it was such a win for us because it was less. And that night, we actually went out looking for this guy for about up until the next morning, and we couldn't find him. We had some information, but it was social media that brought him and put him into custody. I ran over to the chief. I said, Chief, look. And he's like, that's great. And so that was one of the big stories that I had. And it was amazing. Like Mike said, we used to want to keep all the information and don't tell anybody yet until we need to tell people because there's only a few of us, right? There's so many more eyes and ears out there from people. And so it's tremendous.
And I know Jen and Mitch, you got to wrap up the show. I'll just leave you with 2 last things. The greatest thing for social media for law enforcement is this. One is it's putting people in touch with the people that they probably never have talked to, or maybe only have talked to them on a traffic stop. And even that is still a small percentage. Most people have never talked to a police officer in their community, and now they're getting that ability to do that. Second thing I'll leave you with, especially for the agencies that aren't looking for, or having a hard time struggling with letting cops do that. Here's the bottom line. You can either tell your side of the story as to what really happened, or the entire rest of the world on digital media or social media, from citizen reporters to the news media that's trying to piece stuff together, they're going to tell it for you. So there's two ways to go about it. You tell them what happened, someone else is going to tell it for you. And I think I prefer us telling the community what really happened. And that's all I got about that.
Well, Mike and Mark, would you guys let us know how can people stay in touch with you? I know we've mentioned, I saw Mitch posted your website, mentioned your blab, also Snapchat. Where can we find you on Snapchat?
So you can find.
No, don't listen to Mark.
Oh no, don't fight. You don't want to follow Mike.
In charge.
Okay, no.
I'm in
charge. Easy now.
He always thinks he's in charge. Go ahead, Mikey.
iSocial Cop, which is a funny story, which we won't talk about, right, Mark?
Right. Well, we won't.
iSocial Cop on Twitter, on Snapchat. I'm really active over on the Snapchat side because I really want to show people both me on the job and off the job. I want to show you what I'm doing on my Saturdays and Sundays and court time, all the funny stuff, the serious stuff. I want you to see what a cop's life is like. So follow me on Snapchat. I think you'll really enjoy it, and I love the interaction over there.
Yes, and you can follow me at iDigitalCop, pretty much across all platforms. If you want to follow me on Periscope, it's MPD Mark, but all other platforms is at iDigitalCop. So add me to Snap, and when you add Mike and I, let us know that you added us because you saw us on Mitch and Jen's show.
Absolutely.
And,
fantastic.
I promise, on a Friday night, if you have nothing to do, watch Mike because you'll wonder how they made him a police officer.
You guys, here's the thing. You've just shown us what the power of community is all about. Mm-hmm. And, it's interesting, Mike, you brought up something about oftentimes the general, citizen or people in the community, they don't speak with police officers. I'm down at the courthouse all the time, and I've spoken with the two of you more so over the last 3 or 4 months than I have in 20 years with police officers down at the courthouse. And so the reality is it allows us to get to know each other better. The power of community allows us to help each other in a more effective and efficient way. And I think the power of community, especially live streaming, brings us together as human beings more so unlike ever before. And that's one reason Jennifer and I wanted to put together TheShow.Live, and that's one reason we wanted the two of you to be our special guest today on the show. You guys are amazing. I wish I still need autographs from the two of you. I didn't get one last Monday down in San Diego, but just
that's the reason for us to get together and have lunch.
There you go.
So, you guys, we have a special guest next week. He may be a future police officer. And I don't know if you guys know Caleb Maddox, but I'm going to put the link over on the right. Caleb's a 14-year-old speaker, author, and entrepreneur. Before everyone leaves here today, you can click on Caleb's link and RSVP for our show next week. I think he would look great with a badge right here, okay? Because those are the types of young adults that we need to help serve and protect, in the upcoming years. So I'm just saying, guys, reach out to Caleb and start your sales pitch because he'd be a great police officer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard him. He's got some good stuff. I really enjoy listening to him.
He's amazing. Yep.
Well, I'm going to wrap up the recording. Sit tight real quick, you guys, before you click away. But thanks for joining Jennifer Hoverstad and me, Mitch Jackson, on TheShow.Live, everyone. We'll see you next week, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, make the rest of this week your masterpiece.
See you, everybody.